Have you ever noticed that some women simply seem different? Calm when everything around them is chaotic, sharper in the decisions they make, and almost impossible to manipulate. Their strength rarely announces itself. More often, it lives inside small, private habits they practice every single day. Here are 10 of those habits, the quiet patterns that set truly intelligent women apart, and how each one reshapes the mind, the confidence, and the inner power of the woman who practices it. 1. They guard their silence because they understand the power of observation. Most people assume intelligence shows up as talking, the fast answer, the confident opinion, the need to prove you're the smartest person in the room. But real intelligence often reveals itself the opposite way, through restraint. A highly intelligent woman has learned something most people spend a lifetime trying to grasp. Not every thought has to become a sentence, not every feeling has to become a reaction, and not every situation deserves her energy. Used with awareness, silence isn't weakness, it's control. It's the discipline of pausing before responding, observing before judging, and understanding what's really happening beneath the surface, instead of getting swept up in the moment. Most people live reactively. An insult lands, and they fire back immediately. Criticism arrives, and they scramble to defend themselves. A misunderstanding occurs, and they rush to explain. An intelligent woman does something different. She creates a gap between what happens and how she responds. That small gap is where her power actually lives, because clarity drops the moment emotion spikes. Someone who reacts instantly hands their power over to the situation, letting another person's words or moods dictate their inner state. The woman who can stay steady, observe, and then choose her response is no longer being run by the outside world. She becomes the one running herself. Picture a still lake. Disturb the surface and the reflection disappears. Let it settle and everything becomes visible again. The mind works the same way. Fill it with noise, anger, and the constant urge to prove something, and truth gets harder to see. Quiet the mind, and understanding rises to the surface. Intelligent women cultivate that quiet. They don't rush to say everything they know, announce every plan, or explain every decision, because they understand some things grow stronger simply by being protected. A seed doesn't need an audience to become a tree. It grows quietly underground. In the same way, a woman's confidence and personal growth don't require constant validation. She lets her actions do the talking. This is part of why intelligent women can come across as a little mysterious. People wonder why she doesn't argue, why she doesn't try to win everyone over, why she doesn't respond to every jab. The answer is simple. She understands that attention is a form of energy, and she's careful about where she spends it. Every argument costs energy. Every unnecessary explanation costs energy. Every attempt to convince someone who has no intention of understanding costs energy. So she asks herself, does this conversation lead anywhere good? Does this person actually want to understand or just to win? Will responding create peace or more conflict? Those questions are the difference between wisdom and impulse. A disciplined mind doesn't fight every battle. It chooses the ones that matter. None of this means she stays silent about everything or tolerates disrespect. Her silence is about timing, the right moment, the right words, the right action. Sometimes the strongest response is a calm conversation. Sometimes it's walking away, and sometimes it's simply refusing to let someone else disturb her peace. She understands that losing control of herself is the real loss, because when someone can make you angry on command or unravel your confidence with a few words, they hold power over you. But when you can stay centered while the world around you shakes, you become genuinely hard to control. That's not just emotional resilience, it's mental discipline, the same kind you see in a skilled martial artist, who wins not by striking first, but by mastering timing, movement, and energy. Words, reactions, and choices are a woman's movements too, and a disciplined mind doesn't move without purpose. That discipline sharpens her attention. She listens more deeply, notices small details, and picks up on patterns in how people behave. Because when you stop rushing to speak, you start noticing what everyone else misses. How does someone treat people who can't benefit them? Do their actions actually match their words? Does this person bring peace into your life or chaos? Most people get fooled because they only listen to what others say. Intelligent women watch what people consistently do, because words build an image but actions reveal the truth. That's the real value of silence. It lets her gather information without being swept along by fleeting emotion. She doesn't judge someone off a single moment, because character isn't revealed in one conversation. It's revealed through repetition. Someone might say they respect you, but do they respect your boundaries? They might say they care, but does their behavior show it? They might say they support your growth, but are they actually glad when you succeed? A woman who watches patiently sees the truth eventually, because patience itself is a form of intelligence, even in a world that rewards instant reactions and snap judgments. Wisdom moves at its own pace. It observes, it understands, and it waits for the full picture. None of this frightens a highly intelligent woman, because she's comfortable being alone with her own mind. Many people avoid silence because it forces them to face their own thoughts. They crave constant noise, constant attention, constant reassurance of their worth from someone else. An intelligent woman, instead, builds a relationship with her own mind. She can sit with herself, think deeply, reflect, question. And through that process, she grows stronger, because a woman who understands herself is far harder to manipulate. Self-awareness is the foundation everything else is built on. Understand your own mind before you try to understand the world. Understand your own emotions before you try to understand others. And build peace inside before looking for it outside. Silence isn't empty. It's the space where awareness grows. And once a woman learns to observe before reacting, a second ability starts to develop, the willingness to look past what everyone else simply accepts. 2. They question everything instead of accepting what everyone else believes. A highly intelligent woman doesn't adopt an idea just because everyone else has. She doesn't walk a path simply because it's popular or believe something simply because it's been repeated 1,000 times. She understands a simple but often ignored truth. Common doesn't mean correct, and popular doesn't mean wise. The ability to question is one of the clearest markers of real intelligence. Someone who never questions anything is just gathering information. Someone who does question is building understanding. And that's a very different thing. Many people live by invisible rules handed down by society. This is just how it's done. This is what's expected. This is what I'm supposed to believe. An intelligent woman pauses instead and asks, why? Why do I believe this? Why am I on this path? Why am I letting someone else's opinion shape my choices? Why am I afraid to let go of something that no longer serves me? These aren't signs of confusion. They're signs of awareness. A trained mind doesn't fear questions. It welcomes them, because every meaningful change starts with one. Before someone transforms their life, they first question the life they're currently living. Before someone builds confidence, they question the beliefs that created their insecurity in the first place. Before someone creates real freedom, they question the habits that were quietly limiting them. Much of what limits us, she understands, isn't reality. It's belief. Thoughts like, I'm not capable, I'm too old to start over, I need everyone's approval, or I have to keep everyone happy feel true, but an intelligent woman interrogates them. Is this actually true, or is it just something fear taught me? That willingness to examine her own thinking is a real source of power, because the mind can become either a prison or a place of growth, and awareness decides which someone who never questions their thoughts ends up ruled by them. Someone who examines them becomes the author of their own life. That's the real difference between being intelligent and simply being informed. Information tells you what exists, wisdom tells you what matters, and intelligent women are constantly searching for what matters. They don't fill their heads with endless noise. They choose their knowledge carefully, learning from experience, from mistakes, and from other people, without ever handing over their judgment. They listen, but they think for themselves. They take advice, but they reflect on it. They respect others without abandoning themselves. That balance is where genuine wisdom comes from. Once a woman builds this habit of questioning, something shifts. She becomes harder to manipulate, harder to deceive, and far more aware of her own direction, because a person who questions deeply can't easily be led blindly. She doesn't just ask, "What should I do?" She asks, "Why should I do this?" And that single question can change the entire trajectory of her life. Because the highest form of intelligence isn't knowing everything. It's having the humility and the courage to keep searching for the truth. Protecting her silence teaches her to observe the world. Questioning everything teaches her to understand it. And when observation meets deep thinking, her mind reaches a new level of awareness, where she's no longer living by accident, but living on purpose. 3. They spend time alone to strengthen their mind and inner awareness. Most people are afraid of being alone. The second silence arrives, they rush to fill it. The phone comes out, the TV goes on, they look for a conversation, a distraction, anything. Why? Because silence exposes what's actually happening inside. When the noise around you finally stops, your own thoughts get loud, your emotions surface, and you start seeing parts of yourself you usually avoid. That's exactly why intelligent women don't run from solitude. They understand that being alone and being lonely are not the same thing. Loneliness is disconnection. Solitude is a choice, the choice to reconnect with yourself. That difference matters enormously. A woman who's afraid of solitude often outsources her identity to the outside world. She needs constant approval, constant attention, constant confirmation that she matters. A woman who has built inner awareness discovers something different. Her worth isn't determined by how many people notice her, praise her, or choose her. It comes from the relationship she has with herself. That's why intelligent women protect time alone. Not because they dislike people, and not out of any sense of superiority, but because they know the mind needs room to grow. A tree can't put down roots if it's constantly being uprooted and moved. It needs stillness. The mind is no different. Someone who never slows down might accomplish a great deal, yet still never really understand themselves. And without that self-understanding, even success can feel hollow. An intelligent woman carves out moments to reflect. What am I actually learning from my experiences? What patterns keep showing up in my life? Which thoughts are helping me grow and which ones are holding me back? Those questions build awareness, and awareness is where transformation begins. Plenty of people spend years reshaping their outer life. A new look, a new environment, new relationships, while never once changing how they think. A wise woman knows the biggest changes start on the inside, because the outer world tends to mirror the inner one. A confused mind makes life feel confusing. A fearful mind turns every challenge into a threat. An insecure mind can make even kindness feel suspicious. But a calm, clear mind experiences the same world completely differently. The circumstances haven't changed, but the person living through them has. That's the real power of inner work. In any real practice of self-mastery, the first person you learn to understand is yourself. Control your attention before you try to control your circumstances. Understand your own emotions before trying to understand anyone else's. And build peace inside before chasing it outside. This is why intelligent women tend to gravitate toward reflective activities. Reading, walking alone, journaling, learning something new, simply sitting in quiet. These moments look small, but they build something valuable, a stronger relationship with the self. A woman who knows herself well isn't easily swayed. She knows her values, her boundaries, what she'll accept and what she won't. And she doesn't reshape herself every time someone disagrees with her. She can listen without losing herself, love without abandoning herself, and care for others without neglecting her own needs. That's rare, because a lot of people confuse connection with dependence, believing that loving someone means needing them. Intelligent women understand the healthiest relationships come from two whole people choosing to walk together, not two incomplete people trying to fill each other's gaps. A woman who's genuinely comfortable alone doesn't enter relationships out of desperation. She enters them by choice, and that's a meaningful difference. Choosing someone because you need them to complete you gives away your power. Choosing someone because you already know who you are and simply want to share your life builds a relationship on real strength. That's what solitude can do. It dissolves the fear of abandonment, the desperate need for acceptance, and it builds emotional independence, one of the strongest forms of freedom there is. People can leave, situations can shift, opinions can change, but the relationship a woman has with herself travels with her everywhere. That doesn't make her cold or detached. If anything, the opposite happens. A person who understands herself can love others with more patience and compassion, because she isn't constantly asking them to patch up her insecurities. She gives from abundance instead of emptiness. Think of a candle. It can't light anything for anyone unless it's already burning. People work the same way. You need peace inside yourself before you can offer it to others, confidence inside yourself before you can inspire it in others, and a clear sense of direction before you can guide anyone else. That's why intelligent women protect their solitude. Some of their richest conversations happen entirely inside their own minds. But understanding yourself is only step one. The next level is mastering yourself, learning to manage your emotions instead of being managed by them. 4. They manage their emotions instead of being managed by them. A highly intelligent woman doesn't try to erase emotion from her life. She knows emotions are simply part of being human. Anger, sadness, fear, excitement, disappointment, love, every one of them carries information. They're signals, telling her something about her needs and her experiences. But she holds on to one key idea: an emotion is a message, not a command. Feeling something doesn't obligate you to act on it immediately, and that distinction is where emotional intelligence begins. Too many people let a passing emotion create a permanent consequence. Words said in anger that can't be unsaid, decisions made in a rush that are regretted later, relationships damaged in a single outburst, dreams abandoned out of a moment's fear. A wise woman builds space between feeling something and acting on it. She feels it, observes it, and then chooses her response. That small pause changes everything. Picture a stone dropped into a lake. The surface ripples immediately, but the lake never becomes the wave. The wave rises, moves, and fades. Emotions behave the same way. They can hit hard and feel overwhelming, but they don't have to define you. You're the one observing the emotion, not the emotion itself. That understanding gives a woman real inner strength, because people who can't manage their emotions are easy for others to control. Someone always knows exactly what will make them angry, exactly what will make them insecure, exactly which buttons to push. An emotionally intelligent woman gets curious about her own triggers. Instead, why did that hit me so hard? What is this feeling actually trying to tell me? Am I reacting to what's happening right now, or to an old wound? Those questions matter, because the strongest reactions often aren't really about the present moment. They're tied to something from the past, and a wise woman learns to tell the two apart, refusing to let yesterday's pain steer today's decisions. That's real freedom. Plenty of people carry old wounds everywhere. Someone hurt them years ago, and they're still living as though it's happening now. Someone let them down once, and they've closed their heart permanently. Someone rejected them once, and they've decided they're simply not enough. A trained mind sees it differently. A painful experience is something that happened to you, not something that defines you. The past can teach you without controlling you. That's emotional mastery, learning from life without being trapped by it. She also understands that not every emotion needs to be voiced. Modern culture often pushes the opposite message. Say everything you feel, release it all immediately. But wisdom favors balance. Not every frustration needs to become a conversation, and not every disagreement needs to escalate into a fight. Sometimes strength is speaking up. Sometimes strength is staying calm. Emotional control isn't the same as suppression. Suppression pushes feelings down and pretends they don't exist. Control means understanding the feeling and then choosing wisely how to act on it. A woman who suppresses her anger risks eventually exploding. A woman who understands her anger can turn it into clarity, into a calm, this isn't acceptable, a clear boundary, a decision to step away. Her power doesn't come from staying silent, it comes from staying conscious. That's why emotional intelligence often matters more than intellectual intelligence alone. A highly educated person can still make destructive choices if they can't manage themselves. Knowledge without self-control can be dangerous, but knowledge paired with emotional discipline becomes real wisdom. An intelligent woman trains herself to stay steady in hard moments. While others panic, she looks for solutions. While others react, she observes. While others lose their footing, she returns to her values. That skill isn't automatic. It's built, one challenge at a time, one difficult person at a time, one disappointment at a time, each one becoming practice for patience and resilience. Life becomes the training ground. The goal was never to build a life free of challenges. It's to become someone who can face challenges without losing herself, because storms don't create strong trees, they simply reveal the strength that was already there. Difficult moments do the same for people. They reveal how much inner training you've actually done, and whether you're steered by the outside world or grounded in something within. A highly intelligent woman understands that her real power was never about controlling other people. It's about controlling herself. Once she masters that, she stops chasing power outside of her and becomes calm in uncertainty, steady under pressure, and confident without needing to prove anything to anyone. 5. They're comfortable being different and walking their own path. One of the clearest signs of intelligence isn't knowing how to fit in. It's knowing when not to. Many people spend their whole lives trying to squeeze into a shape someone else designed, changing their opinions because the people around them disagree, hiding their dreams out of fear of judgment, choosing a path because it looks acceptable rather than because it means anything to them. A highly intelligent woman understands something important instead. Someone who's constantly chasing everyone's approval eventually loses touch with who they actually are. Wanting to belong is natural. Everyone wants to feel accepted and understood. But real wisdom comes from realizing that belonging should never require betraying yourself. A tree doesn't apologize for growing differently than the tree next to it. A mountain doesn't reshape itself because another mountain looks different. Nature makes the point plainly. Everything follows its own path, and people are no exception. A highly intelligent woman doesn't measure her journey against everyone else's because she knows comparison manufactures suffering that doesn't need to exist. Someone else might succeed earlier, live differently, choose a different route, but their path was never hers to follow. The moon doesn't compete with the sun. The ocean doesn't compete with the mountains. Each simply has its own role and its own beauty. That mindset is freeing, because the moment you stop trying to become someone else, you finally have the energy to become more of yourself. Plenty of people don't fail from lack of ability. They burn themselves out trying to impress people who were never even walking the same road, constantly trying to prove they're successful, attractive, smart, or worthy. An intelligent woman takes a different approach. She doesn't build her life as a performance for an audience. She builds it around her own values, asking herself, does this choice move me closer to who I want to become? Does this environment help me grow? Am I doing this because it's meaningful or because I'm afraid of what people will think? Those questions take courage because sometimes the right path is the unpopular one. Growth sometimes means leaving the familiar behind. And becoming stronger sometimes means disappointing people who only like the version of you that existed before. That's a hard lesson, because some people are only comfortable with your potential right up until it changes how you fit into their life. They may support you while you stay the same, but the moment you start growing, setting boundaries, and choosing yourself, it can make them uneasy. An intelligent woman understands this without resentment or the need for payback. She simply recognizes that growth reshapes relationships, the same way a seed has to crack open before it can become a plant. From the outside, that cracking can look like destruction. From the inside, it's transformation. People go through the same process, breaking old patterns like constantly seeking approval, saying yes when they mean no, or shrinking themselves to keep others comfortable. An intelligent woman learns that her purpose isn't to make herself smaller, it's to become more fully herself. That's not the same as arrogance. Arrogance says, I'm better than others. Confidence says, I know my own worth, and I recognize yours too. A wise woman doesn't need to stand above anyone. She simply refuses to stand beneath them, walking with dignity, respecting herself and others without surrendering her own identity. That's why intelligent women can sometimes seem unconventional. They don't chase every trend, don't crave constant attention, and don't build decisions around what will earn the most approval. Their focus runs deeper. Not how do I get everyone to like me, but how do I become someone I actually respect? That question changes everything, because your relationship with yourself becomes the foundation for every other relationship in your life. Constantly abandoning yourself to please others teaches you your needs don't matter. Honoring your own values teaches you the opposite, that your life has meaning. Being different is often where real innovation begins. Every meaningful idea was once unfamiliar. Every major achievement once seemed impossible. Every person who created real change had a moment of standing apart from the crowd, because crowds tend to protect comfort while individuals tend to create growth. That said, being different isn't automatically wisdom. The real question is whether you're being different to get attention or being different because you're following the truth. A wise woman doesn't reject the world just to feel unique. She thinks it through, chooses carefully, and carves her own direction because she understands herself. Her uniqueness comes from awareness, not rebellion. She's not walking alone because she dislikes people. She's walking her own path because she's learned to trust herself, and self-trust is one of the strongest forms of confidence there is. A lot of people build confidence by collecting outside approval, compliments, recognition, other people telling them they're enough. But external approval is temporary. Today's praise can turn into tomorrow's criticism, and confidence built entirely on other people's opinions will always be unstable. Confidence built on self-trust is different. It's sturdier. A highly intelligent woman builds it by keeping the promises she makes to herself. She says she'll learn something, and she learns it. She says she'll take care of herself, and she does. She says she'll set a boundary, and she honors it. Every small act of self-discipline becomes proof that she can rely on herself. And once you trust yourself, you stop needing everyone else to understand your choices. You can face disagreement without losing your peace, take in criticism without losing your confidence, and move through uncertainty without losing your direction. That's the quiet strength of a woman walking her own path. She isn't fueled by applause, and she isn't destroyed by rejection, because she knows who she is. But knowing yourself is only the beginning. A truly intelligent woman keeps building on that foundation, understanding that the mind works like a garden. Whatever you keep planting eventually grows. 6. They continuously train their mind through learning, reflection, and self-discipline. A highly intelligent woman treats intelligence as something you keep developing, not something you simply receive once. The mind isn't a finished product. It's an ongoing process. Every experience has something to teach. Every mistake carries a lesson, and every challenge is a chance to grow stronger. That's why intelligent women never assume they've learned enough. They stay students of life, curious and open, always growing. Plenty of people stop learning the day they leave school, treating a diploma as the finish line for education. But wisdom sees it differently. School teaches information, while life teaches understanding. A person can memorize endless facts and still lack wisdom. Someone who keeps learning, though, builds a deeper relationship with the world around them. A highly intelligent woman reads, listens, observes, studies people, and studies herself, not to seem superior, but because she knows growth creates freedom. The more you understand, the more choices open up to you. Ignorance narrows your world, awareness expands it. That's exactly why the mind needs training, the same way the body needs exercise to get stronger. A mind that never questions its own thoughts stays rigid. A mind that keeps questioning, learning, and reflecting stays flexible, able to adapt, solve problems, and see situations from more than one angle. That's a real advantage, because life doesn't hand out easy situations on request. There will be sudden changes, disappointments, and moments when the old approach simply stops working. The person who's kept learning can adjust. The person who's stopped growing gets stuck. A highly intelligent woman treats every day as a chance to improve, not perfectly, not dramatically, just consistently. She's not chasing overnight transformation. She values steady progress, because small improvements repeated daily compound into a completely different person over time. One page read each day becomes a library. One healthy choice repeated becomes a lifestyle. One moment of restraint repeated becomes real emotional strength. Small actions building large results. That's the value of discipline. Motivation comes and goes, feelings shift, energy rises and falls, but discipline provides consistency. A wise woman doesn't run purely on how she feels in the moment. She understands commitment and knows that becoming who she wants to be requires showing up even on the hard days. That's not about being harsh with herself. It's about respecting her own future, asking what choice today will help build the person she wants to be tomorrow. That mindset builds maturity, because a lot of people trade their future for short-term comfort, choosing what's easy now and paying for it later. An intelligent woman practices delayed gratification instead, understanding that meaningful things take patience. A strong body takes training, a strong mind takes training, and a meaningful life takes training. Nothing worthwhile builds itself. This is one of the quieter habits of intelligent women. They're constantly refining themselves, sharpening how they communicate, deepening their emotional awareness, building their skills, expanding their understanding. They're not competing with everyone else. They're competing with who they were yesterday, and that previous version of themselves is the one they're trying to outgrow. That builds a healthier kind of ambition. Not the ambition of proving, but the ambition of becoming. Proving says I need others to see my value. Becoming says I'm committed to discovering my own potential. One depends on other people, the other depends entirely on her. A highly intelligent woman chooses becoming, understanding that life was never about arriving at a place where growth stops. Growth itself is the journey. A river stays alive because it keeps moving, still water stagnates, and the mind can too. That's why intelligent women protect their curiosity, keep asking questions, keep seeking understanding, and stay humble enough to say, I don't know yet. 3 words that carry real power, because only someone willing to admit they don't know can actually start learning. Ego wants to look complete. Wisdom accepts that there's always more to discover, and that humility is exactly what keeps intelligent women evolving. They don't grow stronger because they think they know everything. They grow stronger because they never stop trying to learn.